dead also. Faith alone, ultimately our faith alone, will not be the thing that gets us to eternity. We also have to have works to go along with this faith. I think a lot about a particular man that I'm about to tell you about. This is a story that is personal to me, but I think there is a parallel example here of a man who says he's one thing, but he's something else completely. This story starts with a man. There's a man who marries a girl. Just like any other love story that starts out, man meets woman, man and woman get married. But understand that this man had a little bit of a checkered past, to say the least. He was maybe a 10, 15-time felon. But he had a lot of history. He had a very checkered past. He had lived hard. He had lived very hard. But this woman that married him was willing to ignore all of these things and marry this man and devote herself to spend the rest of her life with this man. Things went pretty well for a little while. Lived as a married couple would. Lived, happily ever after, if you might want to say. However, eventually this husband wasn't able to hold down a job. And the reason why he wasn't able to hold down a job was because his substance issues from his past back into his life. That caused a lot of strain on the marriage that existed there. One day this wife, even though this husband couldn't hold down a job, she continued to work. She continued to earn money for her family. She continued to work 2 jobs, in fact, to keep a roof over the head of this man who really at this point was not providing much of anything to this union. And she came home from this hard day of work that she had, getting ready to get cleaned up and spend the rest of the night with her husband. She goes to the bathroom. She begins to take a shower. While she's in the shower, she feels the curtain rod pull back, and what do you know? There's husband who's been at home all day and is on some form of substance and strikes his wife in the face, punches her right in the mouth. Of course, the wife is taken aback by this and begins to scream and holler, as you might would when somebody punches you in the face while you're in the shower. And he comes back in the room. But this time when he comes back in the room, he strikes her again, and she puts her arms up to try to stop whatever blow she thinks is coming, because she's got on glasses. She can't see without her glasses on. She has no idea what's going on. And she feels something cut across her. This time it wasn't a fist. This time it was a knife. Her husband had come back into the bathroom and had started slashing her, started cutting her with the knife. She screams, of course, and is just trying to fight him off the best he can. And at some point, I guess he comes to his senses and takes off. Takes off while she calls 911. Takes off and is hiding in the bushes across from the house. Still has the knife with blood all over it in his pocket. The dogs track him from their house and find him, no problem. Place him in jail. And of course, this is a bad deal for him. He's got a lot of history. He's not lived well up to this point. He's not going to be given the benefit of the doubt when it comes time for a sentence to be passed down in this case. He sits in jail until his trial. He's found guilty, and he faces a sentencing. And of course, as you might imagine, somebody who's got as checkered a past as that, and somebody who hurts the people around them who they love, he's not got a lot of people that are there willing to vouch for him, right? He's not that. But he did have one witness. He had one witness that took the stand during his sentencing hearing, and it was a jailhouse preacher. Now, I use the term preacher probably a little bit loosely there, but he was a jailhouse preacher. He was a man who came to the jail and visited with inmates while they were there and tried to teach them about the Bible and tried to teach them things maybe that could help turn their life around. But this preacher took the stand. And the preacher was asked questions by the defense lawyer, and the preacher said, "This man has never so much as cussed in my presence. He has the greatest faith of any man that I have ever seen. He has the greatest faith of any man that I've ever ministered to. He is just a perfect Christian. He is a perfect Christian. He follows the word just to the T." That was funny to the prosecutor, because the prosecutor knew these things. He knew that while the man was in jail, that he had picked up numerous new felony charges for fighting people and for destroying stuff and just acting a complete fool while he was in jail. The other thing the prosecutor knew was that he had about a stack of messages about this high that was full of nothing but profanity and vulgarities and everything that detailed that he had sent to the victim of this crime, detailing what he was going to do to her when he got out, detailing and saying, "Hey, I'm going to do this to you when I get out of here." So you can imagine the prosecutor's shocked when he hears, this man has never cussed. This man is a perfect Christian. This man has the most faith of anybody I've ever ministered to. So you can imagine the question is, are we talking about the same person? Are we sure that we got the right person here? Is this the same person that's sitting here at this table today? Is that the person that you're talking about? Ultimately, once all the evidence came to light, the judge was able to see the man's fruit for what it was. He was sentenced to life in prison, rightfully so. And he was taken away, and ultimately, his defense didn't stand because those things were revealed. Those things that he revealed, and people were able to see them for what they were, that his fruits were no good. Revelation chapter 20, verse 11 through 15. In Revelation chapter 20, verse 11 through 15, we read there, it says, "And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire, and whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire." Same thing is going to be true for us as Christians on the day of judgment. On the day of judgment, we're not going to be able to stand behind some kind of guard to say, well, in secret I was doing these things, and I really am this good, I'm really this good person, but my actions don't exactly line up with that. My actions and my things that I've done in my life, they don't line up with the things that are needed to be able to be in that book of life. Ultimately, we will not be able to hide, and if our name is not in that book of life, we too shall be cast into that lake of fire. Revelation chapter 21, verse 1 through 7 says, "And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride, adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. And God himself shall be with them and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain. For the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. And I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcometh shall inherit all things. And I will be his God, and he shall be my son. Friends, we want to inherit these things. We want to inherit the things that are there in Revelation chapter 21, especially in verse 4. Those things are the things that we want. Those are things that we as Christians, we strive. The reason why we do the things we do are to be able to obtain those things one day in our home in heaven. You saw that in Revelation chapter 21 and verse 2 that home in heaven is prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Have you been treating that bride the right way? Have you been treating the bride in a way that maybe one day you hope to obtain that home in heaven? Treating it like the bad husband. The bad husband who comes home and ends up with a life sentence in prison over the way that he treats his wife. Ultimately, it's up to us. It's up to us as Christians whether or not we will inherit that home in heaven one day. It's up to us whether or not we will follow the things and the teachings that are laid out in this book. And we'll be judged by those. We'll be judged by our actions on the day of judgment. We'll be judged by whether or not we followed what the teachings of Christ are. It is as good as any to make your life right with Christ, whether you need to put on Christ in baptism, whether you need baptism for the remission of sins, or whether you've not been living exactly the way that you should. Maybe you've not been living the way that you should. Maybe you've not been the Christian that you should be, besides on Sunday and Wednesdays. Maybe you need to make that right. Whatever your need is, I ask that you come forward as we stand and as we sing.
Flee as a bird to your mountain, thou who of sin. Go to the clear flowing fountain, where you may wash and be clean. Fly, for the avenger is near thee. Call, and the Father will hear thee. He on his bosom will bear, who art weary of sin. O thou who art weary of sin, he will protect thee forever, wipe every falling tear. He will forsake thee, O never, sheltered so tenderly there. Hasten, the hours are flying. Spend not the moments in sighing. Cease from your sorrow and crying. The Savior will wipe every tear. The Savior will wipe every tear.
We have quite a few visitors with us today. We're glad that you've chosen to worship with us at the Jacksonville Church of Christ, and we hope that you'll be able to come again at some point in the future. If you have any questions or have any needs while you're here, please feel free to come to one of us, and we'll try to assist you in whatever ways we possibly can. I have just a few announcements, and then here in just a few moments, we'll be led in our closing song and then our closing prayer by Brett Sessions. If you haven't picked up a bulletin today, please make sure you get one on your way out of the building. There are several announcements here, and it would be useful for you to remember those things, as well as it provides you with the names of those we need to be praying for. Compassion Card Team 1 is going to meet tonight. The Ladies' Prayer Group will also meet today at 5:45 in room 204 in the classrooms. All ladies are welcome to attend that. The JCSC Dinner and Devo will take place tomorrow night at 6:30, followed by the devotional. And Betty Tyler and Mike and Deborah Cole are the hosts this week. The men's Bible class will take place at 8 o'clock on Tuesday morning, and the ladies' Bible class will take place on Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Both of those are in the fellowship building, and visitors are welcome to those. The visitation group of Eric's, that's group 2, will meet on Tuesday the 14th at 6:30 at his house, and you'll bring desserts to that. Dig will meet this Wednesday at 6 p.m., so we'll meet from 6 to 7:45. Also this evening, all of our youth who will participate in that all have a sheet for you to fill out again so we can prepare for this Wednesday knowing what you'd like to work on. So be thinking about this afternoon so you can plan ahead for what you'd like to work on for Wednesday. Prime timers will meet Thursday at 6 p.m. in the fellowship building. The menu this time is potluck. There's a Friday night singing at the Blessing Church of Christ this Friday. That's November 10th at 7 p.m. I've learned that my brother-in-law is getting married this Friday, so I'm not going to be able to drive the bus. And I think previously it might have been mentioned. So I just want to make sure that you guys are aware. And if it's possible, I think that we'll have several people who are wanting to go, that if you'd like to go, try to find out some who are traveling to that so that they're making that you can do this Friday. Friday night, the College Girls Devotional will be this Tuesday at 6:30 at Rosa Grider's house. And Cardstock is our teacher's resource need. Thank you for all of those needs being met over the last several months. Our stockroom is looking quite good with the things that you've supplied. I have a couple of things that have been handed to me. This is from a card from Judy Mays. She says, "Church family, I appreciate the prayers, cards, visits, calls, and texts during my brother's illness and death. Your kindness will always be remembered. In Christian love, Judy Mays." Also, in addition to those mentioned in the bulletin, we need to remember in our prayers Jan Barrett, who is sick at home, and Brent and Sandra Parker, also sick at home. Edith Shanks is going to have cataract surgery this Tuesday and request prayers. Karen Tiger is home from her recent hospital stay and is improving. Ray and Sarah Casey, we mentioned this recently. They have friends in Georgia whose niece is missing in the Middle East conflict between Hamas and Israel, and we need to keep that family in our prayers. Virginia Prater, this is Radford's sister, has been placed on hospice care. And we express our sympathy to Blake, Gina, Savannah, and Caitlin, and Carly, and all of the family of Donald Ham, who passed away on Friday. The visitation is going to be at Anniston Memorial Gardens on Tuesday from 5 to 8 o'clock p.m., and his funeral will be Wednesday at 11 o'clock a.m. Also, please keep in your prayers all of our sick and shut-ins, who are in addition to the ones we've